One of the biggest hits of 2002 was Hot in Here by Nelly, and it was okay. The lyrics are brainless, but they're fine for a party song, and Nelly has some personality. I normally don't care for the Neptunes, but the beat is pretty good too. It's just a dumb party song, but it served its purpose. It, at the very least, was way better than the cheap imitation that came out a year later. Just looking at this song's title makes me irrationally angry. Yeah, Hot in Here was a gimmicky title, but it didn't affect the song at all. But in Right There, Chingy actually says it like that. Why would he choose that? He sounds like an idiot! It's not even like he says it that way to force a rhyme. The entire chorus is filled with words being said wrong. And if he had said them correctly, it still would have rhymed. It's just a gimmick, something added to make the song more distinctive, because God knows it doesn't actually have anything else going for it. Unlike Hot in Here, the production in Right There is horrendous. It has all the awful cliches. Sludgy, gross synth, a creepy, high-pitched sound that never shuts up, this time something that almost sounds like a pipe organ, and to top it all off, heavy breathing. Chingy doesn't have a terrible voice, it's a little annoying, but so is Nelly's. No, he just doesn't have any personality or lyrical skills. There were several quotable lines in Hot in Here. Right There only really has one, and that's just because of how baffling it is. Give me what you got for a poke chop. She threw it at me like I was a showstop. Did she throw the pork chop at him? Why is she working it for a pork chop? Why does he have a pork chop with him at the club? Apparently this is a reference to a song from the 90s, but it didn't make any sense there either. Is the pork chop supposed to be his junk? How? We already had meat items designated for these exact innuendos, people. This song would have been completely worthless, even if Hot in Here hadn't already existed. But the fact that we already had a better version of this song means it has no reason to exist. Even for mindless party songs, this is stupid. I can hardly imagine anyone even dancing to this, let alone singing along. Right There is like a movie made by the Asylum, a cheap imitation made purely for profit with no redeeming qualities or artistic integrity. If Nelly was the type of hot that makes girls want to take their clothes off, Chingy is the sweaty, miserable kind of hot that just makes you want to leave as soon as possible. Next. Here we go, satellite radio, y'all get hit with the boom, boom. Beat so big, I'm stepping on leprechaun, y'all get hit with the boom. The number 3 song is a very interesting one. It has become widely loved, made into an anthem, used as a statement, all while just being plain on its face terrible. All the single ladies, all the single ladies, all the single ladies, now put your hands up in the club, just broke up, I'm doing my own little thing. I sincerely don't understand why so many people like this song. This is crap. In fact, I would even go as far to say that Single Ladies is the worst song Beyonce has ever made. Yes, worse than Diva and worse than 7-Eleven. At least Diva is supposed to be experimental and weird, and even 7-Eleven has the excuse of being a song that's not supposed to be taken seriously. Single Ladies is supposed to be an upbeat party song, so why in God's name does it sound like this? This sounds like something you would hear in a horror movie. I know that this song is supposed to be from Beyonce's stupid alter ego, Sasha Fierce, but this is just ridiculous. More than anything else, this song is annoying, and at the core of it all is that atrocious beat that never stops and never changes. That awful mewling sound doesn't shut up, even staying when the drums cut out. It might fade, but I don't think it ever actually goes away. But of course, an annoying sound that never cuts out isn't enough. It's like they kept trying new annoying things. Swelling synth that sounds completely broken, mechanical insects buzzing directly into your ear, and Beyonce herself. Repeating a phrase over and over doesn't make a chorus, it's just grating. I also hate this song's lyrics. For a female empowerment anthem, the writing sure is non-specific and lazy. We have no idea what this guy did to her to incur her wrath. The only clue is that he didn't propose to her. That's it. Single Ladies deserved none of the praise it got. To me, the only reason why anybody tolerated it is because Beyonce made it. Give this train wreck of a song to anybody else and no one would have put up with it. This is garbage through and through, and the messianic cult surrounding Beyonce lapped it right up anyway. A talented artist making a song this terrible is a power move, one that unfortunately worked. Now please shut this song up. What the fuck?
I'm bringing sexy back. Yeah. The mother boys don't know how to act. Yeah. I think it's special.
You know, people dump on Filthy a lot, and for good reason. But SexyBack is every bit as terrible, and became a smash hit. As bad as Single Ladies is, as hard as it tries, it can't hope to compete with the quote-unquote chorus of SexyBack. At least Single Ladies mostly stuck to one or two annoying things at a time. In SexyBack, they just keep adding more and more irritating sounds, each one worse than the last. First, it's repetitive singing and at least two different kinds of awful synth.
Come here, girl.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Come to the back.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
But then they throw in another awful synth, a woman heavily breathing and whispering yes, and a baffling choir that lasts for about half a second and never happens again.
Get your sexy out.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy out.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Get your sexy.
I've heard the term ear rape before, but if it applies to any song, it's this one. Because listening to it with headphones on makes me feel physically uncomfortable. It feels like I'm being violated. It's not like the lyrics are any better either. The first one I noticed was this one.
I'll let you whip me if I misbehave.
Look, if Justin Timberlake is into bondage and masochism, that's his business, but that line kind of goes directly against the whole dominant, confident vibe the song is supposed to have, right? But the worst lyric in the song has to be this one.
Go let me make up for the things you lack. Yeah. Cause you're burning up, I gotta get it fast.
Yes, he's not only asserting that he is in fact better than this girl, he goes on to say that she's at her peak and she better get it with him now that she's attractive. The ego of this song is disgusting, with absolutely nothing to support it. This song doesn't bring sexy back, it kills the very idea of sexy. SexyBack is some of the most unpleasant 4 minutes pop music has to offer. It's obnoxious, it's lazy, it's stupid, it barely even qualifies as a song, but it's still not number one. Yes, I think that there was another one that was even worse. I'll get to that later, but first let's talk about honorable mentions. I usually only have 5, but for these lists I'll have 10 since there are a lot of songs to talk about. Here they are in alphabetical order. The production in this song is terrible, featuring random sound effects, croaky vocals under the main ones, and of course, heavy breathing. The singing sounds like she was recorded with the microphone 1 centimeter away from her face. Deeply flawed, but upbeat enough to stay off the list. This served as nothing more than an ego-stroking session for Nelly. I don't buy this for even a second. It's like a Thugs Need Love 2 song mixed with a Steal Your Girl song, but without actually going through with being either. It makes about as much sense as a text being sent through an Excel spreadsheet. This was very close to making the top 10, but edged out over in the end because it, at the very least, knows what it is. But it's terrible. This is the actual female equivalent of a Steal Your Girl song. It's passive-aggressive, catty, and serves no purpose other than incessantly repeating that Nicole Scherzinger is hot. This is the most obnoxious song the Pussycat Dolls ever made, which is impressive considering that obnoxious is basically the Pussycat Dolls in a nutshell. I don't hate this song as much as most other people do. In fact, during the verses I can hear the powerful anthem that it's clearly trying to be. But the chorus and everything else is annoying and ugly. I would say that London Bridge by Fergie is a lot worse, but I don't exactly have the desire to defend Hollaback Girl when people call it one of the worst songs ever made. I don't really hate Nickelback. In fact, I like Photograph more than I'd like to admit, but their biggest hit sucks. The songwriting just isn't there. How You Remind Me is supposed to be an apology, one where the narrator knows he's in the wrong, but it's filled with so much spite and guilt tripping that I can't interpret it as anything other than manipulation. This song is bland as bland can be. It sounds like album filler that was written in 5 minutes. I would also like to call out the main lyric of, "I knew I loved you before I met you." That sounds really shallow and honestly kind of unnerving. When I saw the name Savage Garden, I was not expecting to hear music this insipid and weak. I don't really like 50 Cent in general anyway, but his monotonous delivery is especially not suited for club jams. The beat doesn't work for a club song either. It reminds me of the beat in Ridin' by Chamillionaire. It sounds dangerous and gangster, so it just doesn't fit. There is no deeper meaning to this song at all. It's simply about Usher wanting to have sex with a girl in public. These people talk about doing illegal stuff all the time, but this is definitely one of the stranger ones I've heard in a pop song. This is a great example of a sex song completely removed from reality. Make a club song or a sex song. Pick one. Poker Face just annoys the hell out of me. To quote Todd in the Shadows, this is extremely sexual without being even in the slightest bit sexy. I know that Lady Gaga can make better music than this, but this is probably her worst song. At least until Do What You Want, its even worse successor. This sounds more like pandering to the male gaze than it does something made by and for women. I don't love the lyrics, but more than that, this just sounds horrific. The pre-chorus is full of random sound effects, and this is the culmination of one of the weirdest problems with Destiny's Child. Their habit of shoving way too many syllables into a line. It just sounds awkward in a way that's really hard to ignore. This is some of the worst of that. Alright, time for number 1.
Here we go, satellite radio, y'all get hit with the boom, boom. Beat so big, I'm stepping on leprechaun, y'all get hit with the boom.
Okay, we're doing the long build-up for number 1 thing, because this needs some context. I was pretty sure that the following was going to be number 1 before I even started listening to the songs, and as expected, nothing topped it. Still, I acknowledge that this is a very personal choice. If someone else made this list, this might be on it, but I doubt that it would be number 1. But I've hated this song since I first heard it at the time of its release. I've hated this song for longer than I've done music criticism on YouTube. This has always been one of my least favorite songs ever, and I am so happy to finally tear it apart.
Where is the moment we needed the most?
Yep, you heard me right. Bad Day annoys me more than Single Ladies or SexyBack ever could. Even as a kid back in 2006, I developed an allergic reaction to this song from the moment I heard it. This isn't like 1-800-273-8255 by Logic, where it applies to a very specific type of person. Not all of us have been suicidal, but we've all had bad days before. And this is the very last thing I would want to hear after a bad day. I hate everything about it. First of all, I detest Daniel Powter's singing voice. It is the perfect combination of being annoying while also having absolutely no personality. Then we got the instrumentation. Bad Day sounds like every song I've ever heard in my entire life. There's nothing there. And that tune gets to me in a way not a lot of others can. It almost sounds mocking.
Cause you had a bad day, you're taking one down, you sing a sad song just to turn it around.
Nyeh, 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 nyeh. But my least favorite thing about Bad Day has always been its lyrics. I could make a top 10 list of the worst lyrics in Bad Day, but I'll stick to the highlights. Kick up the leaves and the magic is lost sounds like something a child wrote. You Need a Blue Sky Holiday sounds like something Hallmark would scrap for being too stupid. But the worst lyric will always be this one.
And I don't need no carrying on.
I'm not exactly sure what they were trying to go for here, but what I have and always will interpret it as is him telling whoever is venting to him that they don't need to continue because he understands. And that's what this song is. It's not sincere, it's not profound, it's not special, but it truly thinks it gets it. If you read the lyrics, there's absolutely nothing about why whoever this is had a bad day. He just assures the listener that he understands. Apparently, this plain lack of specificity is interpreted as the song being for everyone, but really it's a song for no one. I don't normally ascribe to the notion that no taste is worse than bad taste. Something uninspired and bland is usually something I can ignore, but not this. For every other song on the list, I can think of something in it that would have been good in a different song, but Bad Day has absolutely nothing to offer. Even with I'm Yours, the other no taste song, I at least felt like Jason Mraz was enjoying himself. Not here. Fun fact, the debut of Bad Day was in a Coca-Cola commercial, and that is so appropriate it almost sounds like a joke. This song isn't an art piece, it's a product. If you like it, that's fine, but outside of this video, I hope I never have to hear this song again. To me, Bad Day by Daniel Powter is one of the worst songs of all time, and was my only choice for the worst hit song of the 2000s.